Welcome, everyone. Another episode of the L2R2 PlayStation Podcast. My name's Fonzie. I'm joined by my co-host, indie game dev, and UK bro from another mom, Callum Monroe. Callum, we're here. We're waiting for the PS5 news. We're just 60 seconds away, apparently. How do you feel? Are you stoked? Are your nipples, just shooting out of your T-shirt?
Yeah,
How do you
they're
feel?
very hard right now. Yeah, I'm excited. Yeah, just for any kind of details, it's just
Right.
nice to actually have something to talk about for once.
Yeah. It's pretty amazing. It's
Yeah,
the future, so we're finally here.
yeah. We're always sort of talking about rumors and is this going to be like this? And now we're finally going to get some actual information. Finally.
Yeah. Yeah, can't wait. So we're less 60 seconds away here. We're just gonna kind of hear the news as everyone else hears it and kind of interpret it. I have some specs like pulled up because the first thing is to compare once they show the hardware, start talking about the details. How does this compare, stack up to the Xbox
Mm.
One or Xbox Series X?
Yeah.
Is this the same kind of beefy machine, or what will we be seeing here? But
Yeah. Yeah.
so
Hopefully,
this,
yeah. I mean, yeah, like you were saying earlier, I don't know if it's going to be really techy or whether it's going to be, if they're going to show off some new games or anything.
right.
So it's going to be quite exciting. But Road to PS5 seems like quite a I don't know, a kind of informal title to me, but I don't know, that might just be me reading into it.
Yeah, I don't know if they're really. I doubt it, but are they showing more of a map of what the road will be, like the first year will be? I kind of doubt for them to show
Mm.
that much, but that's been their. I want to say that's been the kind of tagline they've been using for a little while now. So
Okay, yeah,
it must mean something.
yeah.
Hopefully we'll find out today.
Hopefully we get to see it, the actual console as well.
If they don't, dude, it's
Yeah,
gonna
I'm going to be
it's gonna
so
be really weird.
disappointed.
Yeah, like they, I don't know what the hell's going on. It's kind of
Or,
funny because just the other day we had Xbox show everything. I mean,
mm,
they had the specs, they had a teardown of the model. I don't know if you got to see any of that
yeah,
stuff, but they've been like just revealing everything.
yeah,
And Sony, then it was getting super weird that Sony said nothing and had nothing to show, and so now
yeah.
it's finally. It looks like it is starting on mine. Okay, there's
Oh,
another
yeah.
countdown here.
Oh, yeah, I can full screen it now as well. Ah, so there's a countdown to the real countdown. I see.
Right. But yeah, like I was watching some of that Xbox coverage, and it's kind of nuts how they're just ready to go. They understand their message, and they're just super confident. They had a couple of these YouTube. Well, they're not influencers, but like really respected people in YouTube. They had Digital Foundry. They got to build the machine and like take it apart and see all the different components and put it in the video. Like they showed the fan off, they showed the processor and how you put it in the machine. Like it was
Yeah.
just super revealing. I've
Well,
never
why not
seen.
as well? I mean, it's not
Yep.
long till they're meant to come out, so you'd imagine that now it's time to just no more secrets.
Right.
Just show it off now.
Yeah. I'm hoping Sony follows suit. I guess Sony has maybe not more to lose, but they're kind of in the running, so they don't
Yeah,
have as much as that pressure to really
yeah,
perform. And Xbox is really just like grabbing at the wall. But they're
yeah,
still they're still in a good spot. It's just I think they have more to prove on the Xbox side.
yeah. There's not really much pressure on Xbox,
Right.
whereas there's a lot of pressure on PlayStation. It's whoever comes out on top, really, I suppose, in sales wise. That they're always sort of the underdog, always has less pressure.
Yep.
Um, and Xbox have been like slowly chipping away at, like buying all these new studios, investing all this money into certain
Right.
things, and now we're starting to see perhaps the benefits of that. So we'll have to see what Sony are gonna do. And
Yeah.
I'm gonna be interested to see what it's like as well, because it's not like is it a live show or is it just a?
Apparently, it's a pre-recorded video,
Oh, okay.
and it's Mark Cerny for sure talking about the specs. I don't know how much that's the question. Will we see some gameplay? Hopefully, will we see just more conversation on the tech that's behind the scenes? I'm not sure. And I highly doubt a price announced here. This seems like not the right place to do it, but it would be awesome if they did. So the stream is starting now.
Unfortunately, we had to cancel the talk that we had.
So it looks like we have Mark
planned
Cerny in
to
front of a fake audience
see.
here.
But we do have some super exciting news about PS5.
He's
and
very quiet.
better to bring that to you.
Yeah, I'm kind of turning up the volume on my end too.
Without further ado, over to you, Mark.
Thank you, Jim. There will be lots of chances later on this year to look at the PlayStation 5 games. Today, I want to talk a bit about our goals for the PlayStation 5 hardware and how they
Yeah, I'm gonna turn it up on my end because it's like
Yeah, I need to sort out my
big believer in
mixer. So if I
generations.
keep...
Once every 5 or 6 or 7 years, a console arrives with substantially new capabilities. There's a lot of
this guy kind of reminds me of like Willy Wonka in the video game world. He's super. His brain is really just like made for tech and for understanding stuff. And the way he's described like the PS4 when it launched too, he's just in there completely just understanding what's going on, and he's just a brilliant mind. But like he's born for this kind of thing.
Yeah.
Groundbreaking console, but also one that caused quite a lot of heartache.
I want to say he's also head designer at Knack too. Like they always tie Knack to this guy. So that's Knack.
It's quite interesting. It's quite interesting that he's brought up the PS3's failure because I don't normally talk about that.
Oh, I didn't catch that. Is that what he said? Okay.
Yeah, he said the PlayStation 3 was powerful, but it caused a lot of heartache for developers.
That's good that they're aware. That shows that they're really trying to be aware of what's going on.
Is that game players are here for the fantastic.
I've just turned on the annotation sort of subtitles because they seem to actually be working okay.
You know what? That's a good idea.
Yeah.
Or help them realize their dreams. We will. So
I have that enabled now too. Yep.
I take a tour of the industry. I go to the various developers and publishers, sit down and discuss.
I find this whole setup quite creepy.
Yeah, just with the no detail on the people that are obviously fake.
Yeah.
It's very strange.
Yeah.
Over 100 people. It's something like 2 dozen.
It's like it's a parody.
Yeah.
And it is incredibly
Or like this weird futuristic dystopia or something like
Yeah.
that.
Most requested by the developers, that was an SSD, which we were very happy to put in the hardware, but a lot of problem solving was required. I'll be doing a deep dive on the SSD and surrounding systems later on in this talk. It's also
No cheering or anything.
generationally, while keeping the console sufficiently
Nope.
familiar
Yeah.
with the game.
No reaction
I think
whatsoever.
about this in terms of balancing evolution and revolution. Now, with PlayStation 1, 2, and 3, the target was a revolution each time with a brand new feature set. That was great in many ways, but time for the developers to get up and running got longer with each console. In the past, I've called this time to triangle. Here's what I had for those 3 consoles. To be clear, I'm not talking
Time
about
to triangle.
Developers will be ambitious, and it may
What?
take them 6 years or so to realize their vision. What I'm talking about is that dead time before graphics and other aspects of game development are up and running, and trying to minimize that. On the other hand, if we're trying to reduce that dead time to 0, that means the hardware...
Oh, so is he saying it takes that long for the tech to be used like properly?
Oh, interesting. Yeah, it's always at the end of a generation that really you see the best games too. So
with PlayStation 4, we were able to strike a pretty good balance between performance and familiarity. We got required learning back to PlayStation 1 levels. With PS5, the GPU was definitely the area we felt the most tension between adding new features and keeping a familiar programming model. Ultimately, I think we've ended up with something under a month of getting up to speed. That feels like we're striking about the right balance. I'll go into a bit more detail later today about our philosophy with the GPU and the specific feature set that resulted from it. It's also very important for us as the hardware.
He's so soft-spoken, isn't he?
Mm-hmm.
By which I mean something other
Making me like want to go to sleep.
yeah,
and the amount of
you need just like a hype man behind him, just like
Yeah.
pumping him up.
There are other areas in which we can innovate and provide significant value to the game creators and through them, the players. That's why the SSD was very much on our list of directions to explore, regardless of what came out of the conversations with game developers and publishers. The biggest feature in this category is the custom engine for audio. That's today's final topic. The push for vastly improved audio, and in particular 3D audio, isn't something that came out of the developer meetings. It's much more the case that we had a dream of what might be possible 5 years from now.
Just show it. Let me see it.
Yeah, he's like a boring cam girl at this point. Come on, man.
Take your clothes off.
Yeah. Well, it's weird. So this talk was supposed to be at GDC, so I guess it's more in line with I don't know if they were going to do this live, and so they were kind of intending on him delivering this information this way.
That was a discussion we were.
But it's also Sony should be conscious that they've said nothing, so everyone's super hungry, excited. We have no E3, so it's like, of course, we're going to put a lot of pressure on this event. and they just decided not to react at all, and they're just going to keep going as they plan.
Yeah.
We were having these conversations. Developers were already banging up against the limits of the hard drive, and a lot of developer time was being spent designing around slow load speeds.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to having quicker load speeds.
Focus in on just
Yeah, it's pretty dope. So Xbox been showing it off like side by side with the One
Yeah.
X and next to the Series X. They're showing a bunch of different games loading, and it's super fast. It's awesome.
Yeah, they did. PlayStation did it a while ago now with Spider-Man, didn't they? They showed it
Right.
on a Pro and a PS5, the sort of load times of fast traveling, and that looks
Yeah.
pretty nice.
Yeah, he's like just transferring from one side of the island to the other basically
Yeah.
as fast as he can. Or I think they're just
Yeah.
kind of spanning the camera. Like they can just load
Yeah.
the entire
Yeah.
map at once rather.
We support zlib decompression on PlayStation 4 that gets you
Although I know with I don't know if the PS4 is going to reveal something or PS5 is going to reveal something similar, but with the Series X, the way they get that speed is they have this proprietary SSD, and so if you want to upgrade the storage, you have this like these special cards that they've worked together with is it Seagate, and there's another company that does this, and so you have to buy these proprietary cards to upgrade, not just a normal external hard drive. You can play like older games on that external, but if you want to play like the next gen stuff.
Yeah.
So I don't know if PS5 is going to do the same thing, but
Now, a gigabyte is not much data. Games are using 5 or 6 gigabytes of RAM on PlayStation 4, so boot times and load times can get pretty grim.
I was just playing Jedi Fallen Order, and that has some pretty horrible load times.
yeah. What are you playing on?
Wait for the
PS4.
Gotcha.
Just a base PS4, and
Yeah.
it's normally like one load time when you start the game, and then it's all right. But even that is long enough, and when you die as well.
Right.
If we could load 5 gigabytes a second from it, what would change? Now, SSDs are completely different from hard drives. They don't have seeks as such. If you have a 5 gigabyte a second SSD, you can read data from 1,000 different locations in that second, pretty much at speed. As for time to load a gigabyte, this is
So he's talking about load speeds and how to increase them. Really, we're always a slave to the fact that these things are on disks and we have to load the data from the disk. And I feel like the next inevitable move is to just remove the disk completely. Of course, they load the stuff that's on the disk on the PS5 or on the console anyways, but if you were to remove that disk in general, it'd always be a faster load time.
Yeah. And it's always the disc that's quite loud as well in the consoles.
Same for a reload, you're immediately back in the action.
Besides the fan, the discs are the only mechanical thing left in these consoles, really. The disk drive, anyways.
We go from trying to distract the player from how long fast travel is taking, like those
Yeah, that's what we're just saying.
to being so blindingly fast that we might even have to
That is too fast.
Pretty cool, right? But for me, this is not the primary reason to change from a hard drive to an SSD. The primary reason for an ultra-fast SSD is that it gives the game designer freedom. Or to put that
He's
differently, with a hard drive,
interesting
the 20
guy.
seconds that it takes to load a gigabyte can sabotage the game that the developer is trying to create. I think almost all of us in the room have experienced this, maybe in different ways. Say we're making an adventure game and we have 2 rich environments where we each want enough textures and models to fill memory, which you can do as long as you have a long staircase or elevator ride or a windy corridor where you can ditch the old assets and then take 30 seconds or so to load the new assets.
This is another problem I've been having with Jedi Fallen Order is where I'll sort of run like through a corridor and it will load the next place, but then I'll actually turn around and go the other way, and then it'll like freeze and then load everything in like really it'll take ages. So it's definitely in new games.
Because they're really, at this point, we're only loading what's absolutely necessary to handle like, just the bandwidth and everything that's going on. There's another cool tech conversation, or I want to say it's the devs over at Guerrilla Games are talking about Horizon and how they got everything to load. And apparently talking with my buddy Gavin, like that's a standard now with a lot of games where whatever the character is seeing, that's what it's loading. And it's able to instantly just load what you can see, which makes sense, but I didn't realize that was going on behind the scenes. But it seems super necessary because there's so much to actually render.
Yeah, it just renders whatever the camera is looking at kind of thing.
Right.
Yeah.
Back to the hard drive. Another strategy for increasing effective read speed is
And then
to make
once I
images
found that out,
large
cut to me like
chunks.
trying to like whip the camera as fast as I could, see if I could like peek behind the matrix kind of thing.
That
Yeah,
removes
turn your sensitivity up as fast as
Yeah.
possible.
Just trying to break
which is
it.
that frequently used data is included in many chunks and therefore is on the hard drive many, many times. Marvel's Spider-Man uses this strategy, and though it works very well for increasing the streaming speed, there's a massive duplication as a result. Some of the objects like mailboxes or news racks are
What are they doing over at your house?
100 times.
Oh, everything.
What I'm describing
Garden's getting done. The garage is getting converted, and just all sorts are going on.
Nice. You guys turn into like
Yeah.
a bed and breakfast or something?
No, well, not that I know of. It's just getting it ready for the summer, I suppose. If there's
Gotcha.
going to be a summer at this
And
rate,
finally,
Yeah, I don't know, man.
if we'll
I
make
don't
it.
know.
PlayStation 4 will sometimes take a long time to install the patch. That's because when just part of a file has been changed, the new data can be downloaded pretty quickly. But before the game boots up, a brand new file has to be constructed that includes the changed portion. Otherwise, every change would add a seek or two. Even so, you can occasionally see this happening on game titles. They
It's
start
very
with
in depth, isn't it?
Yeah. I want to hear like what Mark Cerny is like on a date, because some of this info is just the driest. I mean, of course it's interesting, it's awesome, but
Yeah.
it's terribly boring.
Yeah.
There's yet one more benefit, which is that system
Or at
memory
least
can
compared to
be
like an
much
E3
more
press
efficient.
conference, it's like night and day, because you're just
Yeah.
going banger after banger. Here's an exclusive, here's a trailer, and
Yeah.
that kind of thing. And this is just
Yeah.
a very
I think the
detailed-
problem here is because this is the first thing they've come out and said,
Right.
everybody is going to be watching it, and I don't think this is for everybody.
No,
This is
no.
more for the people who are interested in what's going on inside.
This is really for the devs. Yeah, like it makes
Yeah.
sense that they were going to show this off at GDC.
Yeah.
PlayStation 5, though, the SSD is very close to being like more RAM. Typically,
But they can't like operate in a vacuum. Like they know that just 2 days ago, Xbox showed what the console. I mean, we already know what it looks like. They've showed the insides. They've showed the specs on the thing. So I feel like they need to kind of pick up the pace a bit with what they're showing off.
Mm-hmm.
They're showing off 16 gigs of RAM. I'm not sure if he's referencing that's what the PS5 will have, but
the presence of the SSD reduces.
Yeah, that's a lot. GDDR6 as well. I haven't even heard of RAM that has that.
that must be the newer thing. So I have
Yeah.
the specs from Xbox Series X has also 16 gigs and GDR6 RAM as
Yeah.
well. So they're on par
Okay.
with. That's the thing. A lot of times these consoles are going to be very similar specs, and that's really at the end of the day because there's a lot of cross-platform games going on. It's like they have to have
Yeah.
somewhat similar specs going on.
Yeah.
Is just one piece of the puzzle. There's a lot of places where bottlenecks can occur in between the SSD and the game code that uses the data. You can
And
see
so
this
he
on
was talking
PlayStation
about
4.
SSD loading times, that kind of thing.
10
A lot of this doesn't fall apart, but it's a different ball game when you're talking about games that are online. So like if you think of Call of Duty, it's great that we all have SSDs, but we're still limited by the bandwidth of just this like slow internet speed. So unless they're innovating there, it's kind of hard to
Yeah,
with-
and
with that kind of thing.
PS4s have pretty bad Wi-Fi cards as well.
Let's look at checking. And what happens when it's
I've never seen a PS4 that when you do like the network connection test that reaches the sort of same speeds as maybe a PC or something that's plugged directly into
Yeah.
the Wi-Fi. Even when you've got an Ethernet cable plugged into your PS4, it still doesn't seem to receive the maximum sort of possible speeds.
Copying it from one location to another
Yeah.
takes roughly an entire next-gen CPU core. And
That's the thing. A lot of these Wi-Fi cards, they innovate, they make them faster, and this is tech from how old is a PS4 now? Is it 7 years? Is it about 6
Yeah,
years,
about
something
7
like
years,
that?
yeah.
So that's an older
So to
Wi-Fi
solve
card.
all
So
that,
hopefully
Yeah.
they've
a lot
innovated
of custom
Yeah.
here.
namely a custom.
And with how quickly it moves, they would surely future-proof it as well.
That's true.
The flash controller in the SSD was designed for smooth and bottleneck-free operation, but also.
I did read this morning. So some of the rumors behind the scenes for last week, at the end of the week, were to expect a delay announcement on like a lot of these launches because of the coronavirus. Although Sony said that they have no plans yet to delay anything for the coronavirus.
Yeah.
So hopefully we're still on track for like a. Although no one has a job, everyone's laid off. So
Yeah.
good luck buying this
Yeah,
thing
yeah.
come holiday season.
Immediately.
Yeah. If there's even a population to sell it to.
Yeah.
Virtual flash drives that are supplied To reach our bandwidth target of 5 gigabytes a second, we ended up with a 12-channel interface. 8 channels wouldn't be enough. The resulting
All right, man. Have like Crash Bandicoot dancing in the background at least or something.
Yeah,
Come
something,
on.
yeah.
12-channel interface.
How is speaking of Corona, how's it going over there in England?
SSD is
Yeah, it's getting a bit mad.
The key question for us was,
It's just everything's on lockdown and you're not allowed to go out and
we have a
all this stuff.
responsibility
My sister lives in London. She said apparently police are stopping people from leaving their homes and everything now. So yeah, it's getting pretty serious. But
I see. Yeah, like forced lockdowns or quarantine kind of thing.
yeah. So I mean, it hasn't really changed. I mean, obviously I'm working from home and all of that, but I can still go out, go to the shops and things like that. It hasn't really changed too much, but it's it's getting pretty serious. It's kind of like a movie or something. I've never seen anything like this before. So
No, I don't think we've experienced anything like this on a global scale for sure.
yeah. So it's quite interesting.
Yeah.
I just kind of want it now. I just want it over and done with.
Yeah, I hear you. Same thing. Yeah, it's like because now it's it's affecting normal life where it's like, okay, we need to kind of figure this out, or they're working on some kind of vaccine. This stuff takes time though, so yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, the states in Washington State, they're restricting all, or we had to close down all bars and restaurants. And I work at a coffee shop, so it's like, so we're basically tomorrow we're going to start closing down. And for at least 2 weeks. So, and that's as far as like restaurants and bars go, I feel like that's 90% of what people actually do. So it's like a huge workforce is going to be just completely removed. So it's going to get weird.
It's tough, yeah.
Yeah.
It's I mean, especially if you work at a bar or a cafe and you obviously you get paid sort of per shift or whatever like that.
Yep.
Is there anything in place to like reimburse you if that happens?
Well, we have unemployment that we can apply for. That's like a standard thing that's always there. But apparently, there's talks in the United States to offer some kind of like stimulus plan. They're still working out the details. They have to all agree on it. So that's hopefully the next thing they're working on, like an influx of cash to a bunch of people. Because if you have 2 weeks where no one's making any money, the economy is just going to go just straight down. Because after that 2 weeks, good luck, paying for anything, buying anything. So yeah, there's a rippling effect that all this has.
Yeah, for sure.
This equates to another Zen 2 core or two.
Right, so what are they showing? So this is a chip which has the GPU, the CPU, and the I/O on it. So why does it say SSD in the corner?
These aren't Zen 2 cores. They're there principally to direct the.
Oh, I don't know. Maybe this relates to the SSD as far as like how quickly it can access stuff. Or you're right. It's still not the subject of the SSD, but.
The other is responsible for memory mapping, which I know doesn't sound like anything related to the SSD, but a lot of
Show the console.
I want him to, as he's flipping through slides, he ends up like accidentally has one at the beach where he's like lifting weights or something. It's like, oh, whoops, and then just like keeps going.
Coherency comes up a lot in places. Probably the biggest coherency issue is still
coherency issues.
Flushing all of the GPU caches whenever the SSD is read is an unattractive option. It could really hurt the GPU performance.
I'm hoping we can turn off the light on the freaking light bar, like on the controller, because that thing, I feel like that's what's the drain of the battery life on that controller.
Yeah, that's true innovation there, when you can turn that light off.
Yeah, I think the big step was eventually they put out an update where you could dim it, and that's the most you can do.
Yeah, I know, yeah.
It's so dumb.
Just turn it off.
I'm sure you can, and maybe there's people that have hacked it, but it's just I shouldn't have to do that. Just let me turn it off.
Yeah. Yeah, it's very strange. I think even when you use a PS4 controller on PC, it even you can even turn it off there.
Oh, okay, interesting.
I have no idea.
Our 5.5 gigabytes a second really should
why you can't do it on the PS4.
100 times faster I/O from PS4.
It's key to something apparently.
Dream of no load screens and super fast streaming to become a reality. Having said that, expandability of our SSD is going to be quite important. Flash is costly, and you may very well want to add storage to it.
I've heard that they're making some new
the kind of
storage things, aren't they?
Depends on how you're going to use it.
New storage.
Is that what you were saying? Is that what you were saying?
Well, that's on the. That's on the Series X. So they have a proprietary SSD cartridge kind of thing, almost like it's basically like a memory card. So if you want to expand your SSD, they're going to sell separately these SSDs that just like pop in, but they're special where they can pop in right to the, like just very close to the actual processor of the motherboard. So they're just super efficient. And they have to do that because they have to keep the speeds on par. So you can't just plug in your old like hard drive you have somewhere. It's not going to read the speeds at the same speed. So they're making this, special card you have to buy. I don't know if PS5 is going that same route, but it seems like how they're getting these speeds, they're going to have to start having proprietary stuff is apparently what's going on. Xbox has already announced it.
What he just said there is you can use hard drives.
Gotcha.
But you want if you're playing PlayStation 5 titles, you want to use the SSD.
Okay, and that's what
and
Xbox
he just
is
said
doing.
and he said that they're using the M2 SSDs, which you can buy. You can use them on PCs as well. They're sort of these little drives that basically slot straight into your motherboard, so that it's quicker.
Gotcha.
And he just said that you can use any M2 drive that you can buy on the market. But I imagine that there'll be certain ones they support and they don't.
In other words,
Right.
PCIe 3.0 drive can hit the required spec. M2 drives with PCIe 4.0 are now out.
That's what these are.
We're getting in samples and seeing
Gotcha.
4 or 5 gigabytes a second from them. By year's end, I expect there will be drives that saturate 4.0 and support 7 gigabytes a second. Having said that, we are comparing apples and oranges, though, because that commercial M2 drive will have its own architecture, its own flash controller, and so on. For example, the NVMe specification lays out a priority scheme for requests that the M2 drives can use. And that scheme is pretty nice, but it only has 2 true priority levels.
I'm so confused about this audience.
Yeah, they're moving it now at some point. Like I saw a guy scratch his face, and now they're starting to move.
Yeah.
The extra priorities, rather than the
They're not allowed to touch their face.
And so the M2
Oh, yeah, that guy was touching his face for sure. I think he sneezed on the guy next to him, too.
That commercial drive also needs to physically fit inside of the bay we created in PlayStation 5 for M2 drive.
They are for sure not really there, though, right? Because the way that shadows are cast on them, like that's not a natural shadow.
It doesn't quite look real.
Yeah, I think they've been added afterwards.
Right now, we're getting M2 drive samples and benchmarking them in various ways.
Did you ever watch Mystery Science Theater at all?
No.
Okay, it's kind of the same thing where they have their silhouettes and they're reacting to these older sci-fi movies and just like roasting them and making fun of them.
Yeah, I think it's hard to tell because there isn't really anything happening that warrants a reaction. So
Right.
You can't really tell whether they're really there or not.
I guess if you see a guy fall asleep, then you'll know that they're really there.
Yeah, then they're definitely really there.
Hold off on getting that M2 drive until you hear from us. Okay, back to our principles. Balancing.
Okay, so they basically said that you'll be able to buy M2 drives, but don't do it until Sony tell you which ones are the best ones to get.
I see. It's going to complicate things, I think, a bit.
Yeah.
It's not really a new generation of console. Of course, many of these capabilities result in more performance. That's part of why a PlayStation 5 teraflop is more powerful than a PlayStation 4 teraflop. But we aren't just looking for the performance. We also need the ability to do something with the GPU that could not have been done before. And we need.
Do you know if the Resident Evil 3 demo is out yet? I want to say it's very soon, right? Because they announced that a couple days ago.
Thursday, I believe. So I think it's out in some countries where it's Thursday already.
Oh, I
But,
see. Those bastards.
And we have to ensure.
Yeah, no, I think it's like in New Zealand or something. They've already got it.
Now, backwards compatibility was handled manually.
Does it work where you can just adjust the time zone settings on your PS4 to just,
I was wondering that, but I don't know whether I have the patience to figure out how to do that.
It would be optional to use them.
Try and get like a VPN on it or something.
There you go. That's maybe a way around it.
The GPU supports
yeah, it's tomorrow.
You can release your first
Can't wait for
game
that.
on PlayStation 5 without making any use of them. Before I get into the capabilities of the GPU,
Some of the big
I'd like to make
feature
two
or games
points.
coming out this weekend are Doom and Animal Crossing. Are you going to jump into any of
We
those?
have a custom GPU based on their RDNA
Probably not actually, just because
What does that mean?
I'm not
AMD
too
is
bothered about Doom personally, and because I've got
Their goals were
Resident Evil and Final Fantasy
to
coming, I
reduce
need to
power consumption,
prepare for those.
re-architect
I really want to
Gotcha.
platinum Jedi Fallen Order as well.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Because I've finished it, but I just want to get all the collectibles. But I really liked it. I really liked the game, but after I've completed it, I'm not really finding it very fun to fun to play. I don't know. There's not really much to it after you've completed it. So
Yeah.
it's a bit of a chore, but I think I'll do it. It's not too bad.
Especially in Jedi, just going and finding stuff again because you can't
Yeah.
fast travel. You have to just
No.
slowly make your way through. Yeah.
And the map is so horrible to
Yeah.
look at and like try and understand. I was getting all the seeds because apparently they take like long to plant. So I thought I'll get them first, and then they'll all plant whilst I'm out doing the rest. And I went to like Kashyyyk and went down to this place to get this last seed, and then I got it, and then realized I've now got to run all the way back to the ship. I can't just like fast travel to the ship.
Yep.
And it's just there's just certain things like that where it's just like
This continuous improvement.
because when the campaign's still going, it's not too bad because things end up happening on the way and
Yeah.
like, but once you've finished it, it's just sort of it's a little bit boring. But no, I loved it so much. I loved the ending as well.
Oh yeah, the ending is really dope. Oh yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm glad I played it.
For one thing, they've been getting much larger over time. Adding new features means adding lots
Right,
of
so we're going on to flops now.
In fact, the
Oh boy, hold on to
What's
your
a
hats.
RDNA 2?
is 62% larger than the
I don't know. I thought that had to do with some of the hard drive stuff, but I'm not sure
Second,
exactly.
The PlayStation 5 GPU is backwards compatible with PlayStation 4. What does that mean?
So
One
you can
way
play
to achieve
PS4
backwards
games on the
compatibility
PS5.
is to put the previous console
'Cause it's
into
similar
the new
architecture?
console, like we
Yeah.
did with some
So
PlayStation games.
apparently
But
the
that's, of course,
Xbox Series X
extremely
also has RDNA
better
2.
way is to
Okay.
integrate
It refers to the teraflops of the
previous
GPU
console
apparently.
logic into
Okay.
the new console's custom chips, meaning that
Right.
even as the technology
So are we gonna find out whether we're gonna be able to play PS3 and PS2 games on it or not?
Mhm.
in backwards compatibility modes. One advantage
So you can definitely play PS4 games. That's
once
alright.
backwards
Gotcha, and that makes
compatibility is
sense.
in the console, it's in. It's not as if a cost down will remove backwards compatibility like it did on PlayStation 3. Achieving this unification of functionality took years of efforts by AMD, as any roadmap advancement creates a potential divergence in logic. Running PS4 and PS4 titles at boosted
He's only
frequencies
saying
is
about
also
PS4.
complexity. The boost
Yeah.
is truly massive this time around, and some game code just can't handle it.
They can't have not done it for like the 4th time now.
Results
Yeah,
in
I'm hoping that, or maybe they say
recently
with
took a look at
PlayStation
how
Now you can just
PlayStation
stream
4
these
titles
games,
as
but
ranked
it's not
by
the same situation.
No.
almost all of them to be playable at launch on PlayStation 5. With regards to new features, as I said, our strategy was to try to break new ground, but at the same time not to require use of the new
So almost all PS4 games available at launch, playable at launch. So I wonder, do they have to go individually and approve them, or like customize them? I'm not sure.
Yeah, you'd imagine because he was just saying about how it's to do with the chip, and they've put lots of work in the chip to allow it. So it's probably, I'd say, to do with like recertifying them. I'd imagine. But I'm not sure because I'm not sure if PS5 will have its own like certification, like ratings and things like that.
Oh, interesting.
So I don't know whether it's anything like that. But
as a game developer, you're free to ignore its existence and use the PlayStation 5 GPU as if it were no more capable than the PS4 GPU, or you can use this new intelligence in various ways. Simple usage could be performance optimization, such as removing backfaced or off-screen vertices and triangles. More complex usage involves something called primitive shaders, which allow the game to synthesize geometry on the fly.
So you can choose how.
New capability. Using
I don't
primitive shaders
understand
on
that.
PlayStation 5 will allow for a broad variety of techniques, including smoothly varying.
Oh, is he talking this from like a development standpoint? I think.
I want to say,
Yeah, I was thinking of it as a player. Then I was like, what do you mean I get to choose whether to use the GPU? But that was just me being stupid.
Using the same strategy as AMD's upcoming PC GPUs. The CUs contain a new specialized unit called the intersection engine, which can calculate the intersection of rays with boxes.
So they're talking about ray tracing. That's going to be a big deal with these consoles going forward, because that's going to be an immediate change on when you see like a current gen game versus a next gen game. Like it's going to be a really big jump.
You can use their variations on the same BVH concept. Then, in your shader program, you use a
So with Xbox showing off a lot of stuff, they showed off Minecraft with ray tracing enabled, running on a Series X, and just that alone looks beautiful. You can see the slight glow of lighting. It's just way more natural and realistic, and it's super cool.
Having said that, the ray tracing instruction is
Yeah, this makes a bit more sense now. I was taking a lot of what he was saying, like thinking as if he was pitching it to players, but he's obviously pitching this towards, because he was just saying about when you use your shaders that you can choose to do all these different things or use these new features.
Oh, okay.
But at first I was sort of looking at it like a player, and it didn't really make much sense.
So some of this info, it's very technical and it's for devs, but at the same time, are devs really seeing this for the first time, or are the people that, like first party, they've already got this info? Obviously, they're working on PS5 games, but so then is this just for anyone who's on the fence and wants to develop for PS5? It seems, I'm not sure who exactly, because you would, if you were in a top tier team, you would kind of know this stuff already.
Yeah, I'd imagine it's for the more, you know, like the more independent studios, the second parties that maybe are at that point where they're developing or they're in pre-development and they want to make a next-gen game.
Yeah.
I suppose this just puts any worries they have to rest.
Gotcha.
In general, I like running the GPU at higher frequency. Let me show you why. Here's two possible configurations for a GPU.
Show us the console, please.
This is a thought experiment. Don't take these configurations.
I want to like skip ahead.
If you just
right.
calculate teraflops, you get the same number. But actually, the performance is noticeably different because teraflops is defined as the computational capability of the vector ALU. That's just one part of the GPU. There are a lot of other units. And those other units all run faster when the GPU frequency is higher. At 33% higher frequency.
So he's showing 4.6 teraflops. He just said not to look at this number as a benchmark, but of course everyone's going to. And if that's their final thing, I know Xbox is at like 12 teraflops. 12 teraflops.
Yeah.
So I'm hoping they can at least have a number that's close to it, so people freak out less.
I think what he's sort of saying is that like teraflops are a measurement of like one tiny thing in the GPU. But there could be lots of other things in the GPU that are running at different frequencies that sort of kind of make it, I suppose, an irrelevant number because there's a lot more to look at. But
and I hear you.
But yeah, it's a good benchmark for. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So they're gonna go. This one has more. Okay.
Yeah. It's a good sort of thing to use just so that people know roughly what kind of power there is.
Yeah.
Produced as a result inside of the console. Power consumption varies a lot from game to game. When I play God of War on my PS4 Pro, I know the power consumption is high.
I think that high heat he's talking about, I think that means we're going to see that weird like triangle in the middle taken out. I think we're going to see that reflecting in the actual console because there was those dev kits with that weird shape, and I feel like we're going to see that in the actual PS5, something like that.
Yeah. Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised. I'm not too bothered about what it looks like. I just want to know what it looks like, and
yeah.
If it looks ugly, then it looks ugly, and I'll still buy it.
At least we'll know at that point.
Exactly, yeah. I just want to know what it looks like. Because to be honest, Xbox Series X, no one's really even talked about what it looks like. They just sort of revealed what it looks like, and there was a couple of like memes for a day or so.
Right.
And now everyone's just like, yeah, that's what it looks like. It's just what it is.
Exactly. We all get used to it, and you trust Sony to, of course, they're going to make something that is, still something visually that people want in their houses. It's not going to be just like have carpet on the outside. It's going to look, pleasant in some way.
Yeah.
Native instructions that consume a lot of power. These are great here and there, but presumably only minimally used. Or are they? If we plan for major 256-bit instruction usage, we need
you're wearing a jacket with some logos on it. Is it like a
it's a Logic hoodie. I went to see Logic in London once, and I just got a hoodie. It's sort of fallen apart now though. It's like my like lounging around hoodie.
Gotcha.
It's got
No,
like a
that's dope.
hole in the armpit. It's faded.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's awesome.
yeah, no, I like it. Yeah, it's very comfy.
I thought it was one of your like your kickboxing like outfits for some
Oh,
reason.
no.
I thought it was like okay.
No, that's still going on actually, even with the coronavirus. We're just not allowed to share any equipment.
Interesting. Okay, because I guess you guys aren't like grappling at all, right? But you're still
No,
contacting
not
each
really.
other.
Yeah. There's still we're not allowed to share. Like sometimes we'll have like pads between two of us or something, so we're not allowed. We've got to bring our own pads in.
Gotcha.
And you know, some of the more newer students who might borrow gloves, they have to bring their own in now. So
Sounds good.
it's mostly just to do with hands for some reason.
Right.
But you're allowed to. You know, it's like with football before that's been like properly cancelled now, but they'd stopped handshaking before the games, even though they're then like sweating on each other,
Yeah.
and they all shake hands after the game anyway. So
Right. Oh, okay.
it's
Geez.
just all a bit weird. But
There's no need to guess what power
is everything in America all about washing your hands for 20 seconds?
Yeah, washing your hands, and then where the whole thing they're really emphasizing is just social distancing, where you just don't go outside or like don't gather in groups for no reason, like just stay away. Although in the States, I'm not sure what's happening in England too, but people were like trying to defy these recommendations and meeting in bars anyways, and just being like, hey, we're not going to let it control us and get us down. It's like these aren't like the terrorists win if you guys gather. This is an illness. Like you gotta.
Yeah, it's not
so
like
dumb.
stick it up to the man. This
No.
is like, it's a serious thing.
Yeah, but people are just so dumb. They're like, yeah, we're gonna still, power through this. It's like, dude, you're just making it worse.
Yeah.
While we're at it, we also use AMD's Smart Shift technology and send any unused power from the CPU to the GPU so it can squeeze out a few more pixels. The benefits of this strategy are quite large.
Show it off.
2 gigahertz was looking like
Man.
unreachable.
I would say this would have been better to just not announce that they're going to show something, just drop this and let people watch it in real time and just have the video just out and they could scrub through it. Similar how they did their Wired article interviews where they talked to, I think Mark Cerny talked to Wired. They talked about the name. They actually called it PS5. That was way back months ago. Just like that. Just like kind of drop this on a Tuesday morning and then we can pick through it, they kind of built this up a little bit. And also we're super hungry for news.
Gigahertz was causing headaches with the old strategy. But now we can run it as high as 3.5 gigahertz. In fact,
So they reckon that the GPU will run most of the time at 10.3 teraflops.
Will be running at 2.23 gigahertz and 3.5
Gotcha.
gigahertz. When that worst case game arrives, it will run at a lower clock speed, but not too much lower. To reduce power by 10%, it only takes a couple of percent reduction.
That's quite cool. So it sounds like it's all very dynamic, like it will run
All things
at
considered,
whatever
it is
frequency
a very
necessary to
approach
run the game.
significant games.
I imagine that's more efficient too, as far as like the power consumption, the heat, when you only have to, you only have to enforce it when you need to.
Yeah, so hopefully it means when I'm on like the Uncharted 4 main menu or something, my PlayStation won't try and take off the space.
I always had that in when I played Death Stranding. The fan would be insanely loud when I was in the hub world. When you're inside with Norman Reedus and you're just kind of walking around, that's when it would kick up. But when I'm in the open world, it was just quiet. It's very strange.
Mine was making loads of noise for ages as well, and I took out the disc that was in it because I hadn't even been using whatever disc was in there.
Yeah.
Took out the disc and it was just so much more quiet.
Oh,
It wasn't always trying to like spin it and read it. And,
Yeah. I think I have a disc still in there jumping around.
Yeah. It made a little bit of a difference when I took mine out, but sometimes it's still, you just can't save it.
Yeah.
200 times a second. So, it's been tough going making forward progress on audio with PlayStation 4, particularly when
Someone in the comments commented 4 turtle emojis next to each other. Just I don't know if the conference is too slow or what he's saying is too slow.
Oh, it's probably not. It's probably me. I'm sure that chat's actually full of lots actually.
100% utilization.
Yeah, people putting zzz.
Yeah, it's a lot
Stop
of that.
talking, please.
on PlayStation 4.
Yeah, it's bad.
Probably the most dramatic progress in the PlayStation 4 generation has been with virtual reality. The PS5
Oh my God.
has its own audio
Some of the stuff on
It
here.
supports about 50 pretty decent 3D sound sources. And this
Yeah, a lot of
provided
Zs,
hint
lot
as
of
to where we
Zs.
could go with audio, as well as
But I mean, I suppose it's annoying because everybody's expecting something, but
Right.
it's kind of it's not really their fault that this is what they had planned for GDC. Because if this came out of GDC, no one would have batted an eyelid. They would have just sort of
No.
it would have all been compiled into like an article, and then everyone would have been happy. But
The second goal was to support.
But also, you know, yesterday they tweeted, "Hey, we're going to announce some PS5 stuff." I would have argued they shouldn't have done that and just have dropped this video to help some of the build up subside.
yeah,
And finally, we wanted to really take on the challenges of presence.
hopefully they'll like end it with something exciting.
I don't think they will. Now that we're here, I feel like he's gonna just, I don't know, walk off stage or start reading his taxes out loud, and then that's about it.
Like I don't want something like big to happen just so I can see if the audience are real or not.
Oh yeah.
All sorts of locations around you. Then at some point your brain would take a leap and you'd begin to have this feeling.
Oh, yeah, 3D
This
audio is
feeling
pretty
of a
cool.
real
That's cool.
presence inside the virtual
Yeah.
world.
Now, is that related to ray tracing? Are they like similar techs? I feel like they always talk about that in the same vein, like the way they're able to bounce sounds off. They're doing
So
that same
as
thing.
far
with
as far as I know with 3D sound, so it's the same as surround sound, but it can do up and down as well. So surround sound's only like around you, whereas 3D can be above you, below you,
Gotcha.
or something like that.
Gotcha.
You're fighting enemies in fairly
But you would need special headphones to take advantage of that, or they can mimic that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, you'd need special headphones.
Gotcha.
One last enemy growling and hunting you down, but it was difficult.
Dude, they're showing off Dead Space. That's a cool nod.
Yeah.
With headphones,
Yeah.
you could tell that the
Maybe a little remaster.
You know what? The textures look updated on that little screenshot.
Yeah,
he's
they
got.
do, yeah.
I don't know if I'm reading into that, but
Yeah, no, that looks like I've got it. I don't know if I got it next to me, but it's somewhere. But I bought it recently for PS3 because I wanted to play it
nice.
again.
Oh yeah, they're classics. The first and the second
so
one are
good.
really good.
in the first place.
Yeah.
Well, all those bumps.
I think I owned the third, but I tapped out just because it wasn't the same kind of experience that I wanted. It was
Yeah, I never played the third one. I think I've played like the beginning a few times, but never
Right.
got into it. But the first two, I mean, the first one in particular is probably one of my favorite horror games. It's just
Oh yeah.
so good.
These volume changes and phase shifts are different for each direction and also vary depending on the frequency of the sound. Head size and head shape also impact the sound in a similar fashion. The
Oh
way
my
that the sound
goodness.
changes based on direction and frequency can be encoded in a table called the head-related transfer function, or HRTF. Here's part of it.
So it's been what? Okay, it's been 45 minutes now. So I think
Horizontal axis
About 10 minutes left. It's meant to be about 50-something minutes, isn't
Yeah.
it?
degree of attenuation of the sound at that.
I think they might get away without showing it.
is as
I think it's very
unique
possible we won't even actually see what it looks like.
In fact, you're looking at
There's going to be an absolute storm online if they
Yeah.
don't.
Why would they think?
hundreds of people
Of course, everyone's gonna build this up. It's like we're living in a
Yeah.
world where we're hungry for PS5 news. Come on.
Yeah.
And then sit the subject down in the middle.
And I mean, you'd imagine they must. I mean, I'm sure this thing's being produced right now. Like, they must have images of it.
Yeah.
In the course of 10 or 20 minutes, we're able to sample the HRTF at over 1,000 locations. Using an HRTF when rendering audio creates unparalleled quality, but it's computationally expensive. The simplest way to use an HRTF is to process a sound source to make it appear as if it's coming from one of those 1,000 locations we sample. Unfortunately, the processing has to be done in frequency domain rather than time domain, so there's multiple fast Fourier transforms needed for every sound source for every audio tick. That's a lot of multiplies. This computational complexity was the determining factor for our strategy.
He's such an odd man, isn't he?
Design and build a custom hardware
What was that?
for 3D
He's such an odd man.
He is. He was made for this and only this. I think. Like this is
Yeah.
where this is his Super Bowl right now.
Yeah.
The meaning of 3D.
He reminds me of Willy Wonka, just like a tech Willy
Yeah.
Wonka guy.
As for Tempest,
Yeah.
I feel it really reflects our
He
goal.
definitely knows his stuff, doesn't he?
Yeah, he's brilliant.
Of experience,
He's brilliant.
and also hints at your presence within it. We're calling the hardware unit that
Some of the audio stuff they're talking about is amazing, but at the same time, this stuff is now, once it's completed, it just comes out of everyone's crappy TVs. It's like all this stuff
Yeah.
behind the scenes, but it's still the basic speakers is what it's coming out of.
Yeah.
It's like when artists work on an album and then the user goes, cool, I'm going to play this on my phone. See you later. Like, that's how they're hearing the music.
Yeah. Yeah.
Our target target was that it would
Yeah,
have more
it's sort of
power,
it's always only as good as the hardware it's sort of on, isn't it?
and
And
it
Yeah.
would be more
the
efficient
sound,
than
it
our
relies
GPU,
on
thanks to
not
the
just your
LTR2
PlayStation, but also
architecture.
what you're playing it
The
on.
goal
Yep.
being to make possible near 100% utilization.
Unless the
of the
PS5 is
CPU
going to have like custom speakers in it, and that's what's going to be blasting out the audio.
Yeah, that'd be sick. That'd be really cool.
Power and bandwidth as all 8
Maybe that's why it's so big and it's in the shape of a V.
Yep.
If
Just
we
one
were to
big
use
speaker.
the same algorithms as PSVR, that's enough for something like 5,000 sound sources. But of course,
So now I'm looking at the upvotes and downvotes. It has 120 upvotes, 1,000 upvotes, and 21,000 downvotes on the video.
Wonderful.
People are angrily downvoting it.
Using Dolby
Yeah.
Atmos peripherals could have achieved our goals, but we wanted 3D audio for all, not
Like the video's fine and like it all sounds good. Like
Yeah.
there's nothing wrong with the actual video. It's just the timing.
The timing and the information is not,
Yeah.
you know, what people wanted to hear.
No.
Problem. And it wasn't clear what.
And I get that this is for devs, but we're in a world where all our media is like combined. So of course you're going to have fans mixed into this, and especially since we've had
Yeah.
nothing with PS5 for a while, people want to see something, they click on this, and they go, "What the hell's going on?"
And other algorithms.
You can't imagine that PlayStation didn't think that everybody was going to tune into this.
Right.
The primary purpose of the Tempest engine remains 3D audio. Now, 3D audio is a major academic research topic. It's safe to say that no one in the world has all of the answers. And the set of algorithms that has to be invented, tuned, or implemented to realize our vision for 3D audio is immense. For example, use of HRTFs in games is quite complex. Before, I talked about making a sound source appear as if it's coming from one of those 1,000 HRTF sample locations. But for high-quality 3D game audio, we have to handle other possibilities. The sound source might not be at one of the 1,000 HRTF sample locations, so we have to blend.
I think I'm going to smash this coffee pot on my head and just put myself out of my misery.
It's a good thing you got that, to be fair.
Which needs very special handling.
Well, I don't know if I need to help you stay awake for this. Jesus.
In the resulting audio. Or the sound source might have a size to it, meaning
It just kind of like kills the momentum a little bit, you know, because we're like, okay, we're seeing a rise. They're going to start talking about it, and we dip back down with this kind of thing, and then it's just kind of a bummer.
Yeah, it's kind of like I think developers probably know a little bit more about the ins and outs of what they're doing, but like I don't know any new information about the PS5 yet.
Right. Well, I guess they did show off the DDR6. They confirmed that at least. So we have 16 gigs of RAM. I mean, they haven't actually confirmed it. They're just kind of showing off what they have technically. But yeah, we have 16 gigs of RAM. Possibly 10 teraflops is what they were saying, possibly.
Yeah.
After that, they have a custom, SSD, which also Xbox has. That's about it as far as what they've confirmed.
But I'm pretty sure like all of that is basically been said, maybe not to the exact detail, but in like
I think you're
a
right.
wide article. Because I mean, we've known that it's going to have 3D audio, we've known it's going to have ray tracing, we've known it's going to have an SSD. It's just going more into detail on those things we already know, instead of revealing new things.
Right.
Made to feel as if it's coming from any direction, even behind you. Virtual surround sound has a lot in common with 3D audio on headphones, but it's more complex because the left ear can hear the right speaker and vice versa. We have a basic implementation of virtual surround sound up and running. We're now looking at increasing the size of that sweet spot, which is to say, making the area...
But surely in real life, if you can hear something on your left, your right ear can also hear it as well, though.
Right. It's just going to be different. It's going to be,
Yeah.
lesser in volume, I guess, but you're going to hear it.
Yeah.
We're going to see what we can do to bring virtual surround sound to a similar level, after which we'll start in on setups with more speakers, such as 6-channel.
The PlayStation specific, I don't know if you've used the big wireless headsets they do.
Yeah.
But they have virtual surround sound, and they are really good, to be honest. I think it only works when it's connected wirelessly. So if you connect it with the aux cable, it'd just be a normal headset. But when it was wireless, it was so loud.
Yeah, I've always debated buying those. They
Yeah.
come down in price every once in a while. They look really dope, but I've never actually purchased
Yeah,
one.
they're really good.
So, a big advancement, but have I entered the matrix? Does my brain believe I'm really there? Like I was talking about earlier when I explained our target of presence. Well, the answer is no, but you've probably caught on to what's missing here, namely whose HRTF was being used. It wasn't mine. It was the default HRTF. The audio team analyzed the hundreds that they measured and chose the one they felt was the closest fit to the total game-playing audience. This shows a piece of the default HRTF on the left and my HRTF on the right. You can see that the general features are much the same, but the details are quite different.
Yeah, they're gonna end this with no,
With the default HRTF,
no big
as I said,
information.
3D
It's
audio sounds
pretty crazy.
great. When I use my HRTF, though, the audio reaches a higher level of realism, which is to say that when using headphones and my HRTF, I occasionally get fooled and even think a sound is coming from the real world when it's actually coming from
Maybe if we play this thing backwards, he's actually revealing information. It's like if you spin the disc backwards on the turntable.
Sufficiently far
Yeah.
from the default HRTF, that's the red dot here, that they can toggle between PS4 style and PS5 style audio and not sense much difference. I've had a few people describe the PlayStation 5's 3D audio as sounding like a bit better stereo audio. Presumably they're the ones at the very edges of this diagram. Which means what HRTF you're using is key. I'd like everyone to be able to experience what I'm experiencing, but obviously it's not possible to measure the HRTF of every PlayStation user. That means HRTF selection and synthesis are going to be big topics.
Please don't talk about HRTF again.
Yeah, I don't know what that is, and please stop.
At PlayStation 5 launch, we'll be offering a choice of
I wonder if Mark Cerny, so like when he goes home, does he just kind of like plug into the wall and just stare at it? Is that how he ends his day? Like,
research topic.
he's just like a robot.
How does he get all this knowledge as well? Where does he
Yeah.
get it
Use
from?
a neural network to pick the closest HRTF in our library. Maybe you'll be sending us a video of your ears and your head, and we'll make a 3D model of them and synthesize the HRTF. Maybe you'll play an audio game to tune your HRTF. We'll be subtly.
I'm hoping this is for
tuning it
developers
and
still.
home in on
Yeah.
the HRTF that gives you the highest score, meaning that it matches you the best. This is a journey we'll all be taking together over the next few years. Ultimately, we're committing to enabling everyone to experience that next level of realism.
This conference or this presentation does remind me of Sony in the past, where they're just kind of out of touch a little bit with like consumers or that kind of thing, with like PS3 dropping the $600 price tag. This reminds me a little bit of that, where they just kind of don't realize people are waiting for some news. They're waiting
Yeah.
to hear something, and they said, "Yeah, whatever.
Yeah.
We're just going to put out what we intended on putting out," and they're just not thinking about the consumer a little bit
No,
more.
yeah.
Find out soon enough.
I'm hoping not. It just gives me a taste of that, like they've been in the past.
So is that it? Is that really it? So that was it.
That's insane. Wow. See, how did they think that was going to be okay to do?
I don't know.
But that's what I mean, where it's like they've been out of touch before, and this kind of reminds me of them going back to that, where they just don't care. They're going to do what they do, and they're not thinking of that user, that fan, the people out there. That was really bad.
Yeah, I don't really know what to say about it, really. It was just
Because they didn't say, "Hey, this is just going to be what we intended on showing." I mean, this was found out like close to the stream, but if Sony said, "Hey, this is what we're going to show at GDC," there's no crazy information. Here you go.
Yeah.
Because they've done that before.
Yeah, 'cause and GDC they upload like their own videos, like their developer videos, and I don't know, that could have that didn't have to be on the PlayStation's main channel. That could have just been on GDC's channel. There was nothing even revealed then. It was just going into detail on each of the components so that perhaps developers might understand a little bit more what system they're developing for. But in terms of it was like it was promoted as like a big thing for everybody to watch, like a don't miss it kind of thing. And
that's how it was. It's very strange because like in the past they've had I think one of the last big streams they talked about how they're not going to show anything with the PS5. They're just going to talk about like PS4 stuff. They said that before. So they should have done something similar to this time where they said, we're going to talk about PS5, but not release, a price point or the box. Like at least put those expectations in check.
Yeah. Like I said, there's nothing wrong with the video itself or what he talked about or what he said. It was just the timing and the way it was like the way they tweeted about it and got everyone excited for it. This is clearly for a much more niche section of their audience, so it should have been handled a bit better, I think.
So I have the tweet, just I guess maybe we were building too much into this, but
Yeah.
the tweet from PlayStation says, tomorrow at 9 a.m. Pacific time, PS5 lead system architect Mark Cerny will provide a deep dive into PS5's system architecture and how it will shape the future of games. I mean, they really don't say anything beyond that. That's exactly what that press conference was.
Yeah.
But I guess we see that and go, oh, cool, PS5,
Yeah.
and we expect something else.
Yeah, I think maybe it was just I suppose it was partially our fault in a way to just get hyped. But that's the thing, they haven't shown anything whilst their competitors are showing everything.
Right. Yeah. God, such a fucking waste of time, a bummer. Like it's just a bummer, man, because you have Xbox next to them completely taking the opposite route where they're showing so much, they're talking about it so much.
Yeah.
And PlayStation's not concerned about doing that.
No. It's interesting.
Yeah, and it reminds me of them in the PS3 days where they just didn't care. And I'm hoping that's not the case this time.
I've just seen a tweet from like a PS5 news thing, and it's got like listing what they've revealed. And it's like ultra fast boot, no load screens, ultra high speed streaming, dedupe game data, no long patch installs. But that's all things that they've already come out and said the PS5 is going to have before today.
Yeah.
So they haven't even revealed like anything new about this. I mean, I get that they've revealed new things about the system because they've gone deeper into it, but it's still the same things they've revealed. It's still an SSD. It's still, a better GPU. It's still ray tracing. It's still all these things. Yeah.
Man, that was bad.
Yeah.
So then, no reveal here. When would we expect them to? Are they just going to hold off until E3? That time frame rather, and have their own stream saying, "Here's where we're really going to show everything off."
I don't know. I really don't know. Like when they're planning on doing this now, because
with the PS4, so that was revealed in February of that year.
Yeah.
They actually had an event where they had press come down and check it out, and then it launched that holiday season and they talked about it after the E3 event. So if we're on the same timeline, we still haven't seen the box. We haven't heard of a price. Really haven't seen any gameplay, actually.
No.
Like, there's other third-party stuff we've seen next gen, but no, like, Sony next gen gameplay.
Yeah.
So it seems like we're really behind on this.
Yeah, I just don't. Yeah, I don't think they. I mean, the annoying thing is, surely they have things to show. I just don't know.
Yeah, you'd have to imagine.
I don't know what they're holding off on. It's just frustrating. But I mean, then again, when they do reveal it, that'll all be forgotten. Because it will have happened and we'll be satisfied. We'll hopefully be satisfied.
Yeah, I hope so.
And we'll probably just straight away forget that it took them so long to reveal it in the first place. So it's just, it's just us being impatient, I suppose. But they do sort of have to look at what their competitors are doing, and they've got like a duty to their audience to, keep them in the loop, and they don't seem to be doing that.
And they're not, and that's what worries me, is that, like, are they showing to just this feeling of not caring like they've had in the past? But hoping it's different. They have the Guerrilla Games, the head guy there who's now running PlayStation, so I'm hoping that he has a better, way to approach it. But it's pretty bad. They could have at least give us something at the end to just help with, like, quell those fears, like maybe a cool look at the controller or something, man. He could have farted right before he left. Something funny, something interesting, but nothing.
Yeah. Oh, and I've just seen a bigger explanation on the PS4 games thing. So the 100 PS4 games that will be supported at launch will have a boost mode. So it means that they'll be like better optimized on the PS5. And every other PS4 game will run on the PS5 just at its normal legacy setting or whatever it's called. So when he said these 100 games, they'll all have boost support, whereas the rest will be rendered under their normal thing. So I suppose that's a bit better. That's a bit better news, but there's still not. Then there's nothing said about PS1, PS2, PS3 backwards compatibility, which Sony should definitely know is a huge thing that people have been after.
Yeah. No, you're right. During that presentation, they just they didn't keep going with those titles. Like they kept kind of going down the PS3, and then they stopped, and we didn't see anything below PS4. So I'm not sure what the plan is with that backwards compatibility, but
well,
yeah, they kind of have to show up with that because Xbox has that across the board now.
Yeah. Well, that was disappointing.
Yep. Yep. And maybe they'll go into more detail with like different interviews over the weeks coming by where they're just like, here's another Wired article interview, and they'll kind of reveal more info.
Yeah.
But not today, apparently.
No.
Yep. So, we'll end it there then, Callum.
Yeah.
It was a disappointing day.
Yeah, I think that could have been longer, but there's not a huge amount to talk about.
Yeah, that's it. Tomorrow we have the Resident Evil 3 remake trailer, which is super dope.
Yeah.
I can't wait or not trailer, but the demo.
Yeah.
I can't wait to play that. Hopefully by next week we'll have some. Although what's interesting about that is that game is April something. It's coming up soon, so we'll have like 2 weeks to play the demo, and then this thing launches.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm glad you said about it, actually, because that disappointment made me forget that the demo is coming out tomorrow.
Yeah.
So I feel a bit better now.
Yeah, which is for you, tonight possibly? I think like usually like 10 p.m., 9 p.m. in whatever place you're at, like it will start. Well, at least for me, this is in the States here.
Yeah. But
like sometimes they'll actually launch earlier than what it's allowed. But,
yeah, I suppose in the States, because you have like a whole, like as in region wise, it's the US, but because the US is so big, there's time differences. Whereas I'd imagine that because the UK is its own region, we'll probably get it at like, I don't know whether it's 12 a.m. exactly.
That's true.
Or whatever.
Yeah.
Because we only have one time frame in the UK.
Gotcha.
So I imagine it will be. But yeah, I mean, I'll definitely get up early. I've got to play it early, so it's not too scary. But
yeah, so it's launching April 3rd. So we have, I mean, a good like literally 2 weeks before it actually launches.
Yeah.
It seems like a weird gap in time. So this is just a demo to kind of bring up more buzz for the game. But as far as demos go, it seems like they're launching really close to the actual release date. But I don't remember the Resident Evil 2 remake demo, how close that was.
Yeah, I don't remember now. I think it was quite close. Because I remember I played the demo on PC, so I was sort of like really close to my screen, and I literally couldn't finish it. And then when it came out, I was like, yeah, I'm going to get it on PlayStation because I feel like I'd be a bit more comfortable playing it, like away from the screen, a bit more relaxed, sort of not like inside my monitor, like these really high graphics. So I think they were quite close, but I'm not sure if it was this close. But I suppose it's just a way to get everyone hyped, isn't it? I mean, you don't really need a demo for it, so I suppose just the fact that one's coming out is going to be better than nothing.
Yeah, it's true.
And then you've even got the Project Resistance like beta starts next week. So that's even closer because that will be out on the same day. But what do you think about that? What do you think how that looks?
I have zero interest in the beta. Just that gameplay. I've never been a huge fan of the 5v1 kind of style.
The
how they're doing it,
kind of stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm hoping people have fun with it. I know for me, I'm really the meat on the bones for me is the actual like single player for Resident Evil 3.
Yeah.
Like that's what I'm super stoked for.
Yeah.
But hopefully people dig Resistance.
Yeah.
But,
yeah. It was kind of weird when it got announced because they had this like Project Resistance. They were like, oh, we've got a new reveal or whatever, and everyone thought it was going to be either RE8 or RE3 remakes. This before we even knew it was coming, and then they showed this really like janky looking online sort of game. So yeah, I was like, oh, this is awful. But then when I heard it was bundled with RE3, I'm a bit more lenient with it, and I think I'll give it a go. I don't really play multiplayer games anymore, but because it's attached to RE3, I'll give it a go, see what it's like. I mean, it looks like it could be fun, but who knows?
Although I think Resident Evil 2 remake was in the States, it was $40. It was below a normal like full full price point. But now that they're throwing the Resistance thing in there, now they're charging that full retail price for Resident Evil 3, which is it's a bummer for me because I have no interest in the other one. But I think those games usually demand a full title
definitely.
price point.
I think
there's a lot.
I think RE2 definitely deserved a full price. It was definitely I mean, it's probably better than most games that charge that price. And I mean, I suppose in a way, because the games are quite short. I mean, I know there's 4 or 5 different playthroughs on it, and the first time you play it, I think, is about 8 to 10 hours. But you know, if you really like Resident Evil, you're gonna make sure you play every single playthrough. You're gonna try and go for the S ranks and try and, you know, do it on the harder difficulties and all this. So there's a lot of game there. There's a lot of content.
There is.
But yeah, so yeah, I didn't realize that it wasn't full price.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean with the Resident Evil 2, just like you said, I replayed it so many times.
Yeah.
So there's definitely enough replayability where I think it's worth it for sure.
Yeah. Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah, we'll see. That's the next big thing coming up. And I think we'll end it there, Callum.
Yeah.
Where can they keep up with you on the internet?
So Twitter's probably the best place, which is Bear Munro. I haven't actually been using anything for the past few days, really. But yeah, that's normally sort of the best place to find me.
You know what, before I let you go, how has your game been going? Because you finally released on, was it Android?
Yes, yeah,
Or
actually,
iOS?
I
Okay,
released
gotcha.
that. There was a few hiccups, like for example, the thumbnail and the name of the game once it's downloaded, like defaults to this weird sort of, it doesn't have its real name and it's got like a weird thing when it's downloaded. I don't know why, but I don't think I'm going to bother updating it or anything, because it was always a project that I just planned to release and figure out how to release something. I mean, the game itself plays fine. It's playable start to finish, and a few of my friends have been playing it and trying to beat each other's scores, which is quite nice to see.
Nice.
So now I'm sort of just on to the next thing, trying to I've been feeling a bit overwhelmed because I've got some ideas for my next game. I want to do something in 3D, so I'm now at that point where like I've got to learn a few more skills. So I'm sort of like trying to decide what to tackle first and sort of what takes priority at the moment. So just sort of trying to get into the next thing now. But yeah, it's going well. It's keeping me busy. It's keeping me stressed.
Gotcha. That's good. There isn't enough stress out there. So
No, definitely not.
Alrighty, Callum. We'll end it there. You can also find us on Twitter as well, Plastic Heart Pod. That's it for us this week. We'll see you next week. Bye-bye.
See you later.